Story 1. My best friend's husband got drunk and told me he cheated on her. I planned to tell her, but then her husband died very suddenly. I decided it was best not to tell her, as I didn't want to ruin the memory she has of him. Story 2. I was the one who sent her the anonymous Valentine's card in high school that she still talks about. She thinks it was from her crush, Tommy, but it was just me trying to cheer her up after a rough breakup. Story 3. Sometimes I pretend to agree just to keep the peace, even when I believe they are completely wrong. Some truths simply are not worth the drama. Story 4. I hate going out with her. We worked in the service industry together, I still do, and she's the kind of person who will go to a place, love it, return months later, and then be rude to the staff. For example, "Hi, new face. Can I get an espresso martini?" She watches them make it the way she doesn't want. They set it in front of her. "Oh, is this how you do it now? Last time we came in, they made me a fresh espresso for the martini. It's okay though, I guess. I can replace it if you prefer, ma'am. Apologies, this is how I was trained." "No, it'll be fine." Then she proceeds to gag and talk negatively about the martini. Just say you want them to make a fresh espresso, chill it, and then shake the martini. You're wasting everyone's time. We know you want the fresh press. Or, "Oh, you charge for this tiny portion of extra dressing? They've never charged me before. You can just take it off for me. You are almost 40. How can you treat people like this?" It feels selective, as if it's directed toward women under 40. I don't know. It's weird, and we're drifting apart because of it. I'm finally glad to get this off my chest without any backlash. Story 5. He has been my best friend since we were in 7th grade, more than 30 years ago, and his mother is judgmental and vindictive. My mom passed away when I was 25, and his difficult mother is still alive. Story 6. The universe is not against you. You just make poor choices, and the results are the consequences of your actions. Story 7. I know he was involved with my coworker, and while I don't care about that, I am a little disappointed that he didn't treat her well. He wasn't abusive, he just lied to her quite a bit. Story 8. Many years ago, my friend had a hamster. One day, while I was at his house, he went to the restroom, and I took his little hamster outside. It escaped, and I ran after it, trying to catch it for about a minute. I managed to catch it just before it went down a hole in the ground. I got the hamster back into its cage right before my friend exited the bathroom. He will never find out how he almost lost his hamster that day. Story 9. I stuffed the ballot with multiple votes so that she would win Homecoming Princess. She still looks back fondly on that memory even now, so I don't want to spoil it for her, but I always feel guilty whenever it comes up, which is not often. Story 10. I am tired of her always complaining about men and how she wants to be alone. Yet she goes from one relationship to another and never stays single. Every guy she chooses has serious flaws. I am slowly distancing myself from her because I can't tolerate this any longer. Story 11. I secretly dislike the person they were dating, but remained silent to protect our friendship. Some truths feel too complicated to express openly. Story 12. I'm starting to get tired of her getting into relationships, centering her life around those men, and becoming a poor friend only to come running back when the men she chooses treat her poorly. Story 13. I dislike his wife. When I met her, she told me to stay away from him and called me worthless. Story 14. I don't know. I tell my sister everything. I suppose if there is a spider in the room, I will not say anything. She is deathly afraid of them. Story 15. I dislike it when you call me in the middle of a workday because I have an office job and more availability during the day than you. I find our phone calls somewhat dull. Story 16. I love you, but I won't ruin our friendship. She has been my best friend since we were children, and every time we reconnect after not talking for a while, it feels like I am a child with a crush all over again. Story 17. My brother got me pregnant and I had an abortion because it wasn't viable outside of the womb. She knows we are together, and it would break her heart. It's already hard on us. Selfishly, we both don't want to deal with her emotions as well as our own. Story 18. I used to share too many details about my relationship with my friends. I often recounted everything that happened, but without providing context or mentioning the positive aspects. This left a negative impression of my boyfriend on my loved ones. Even when we worked through our issues, my family and friends mainly remembered the early negative incidents. I have learned to establish better boundaries and address more of these matters with my boyfriend or on my own. Story 19. Her husband deserves to know that she cheated on him with someone he thought was just a friend from work. I have been debating telling him. She stopped communicating with me over a year ago, and I still don't know why. It's been about 4 years since the affair. I just don't know how to tell him without her knowing it was me or without her thinking I'm doing it out of revenge. Story 20. I think their dad is unsettling. The atmosphere feels wrong. I would not want to be alone in a room with him. Story 21. I don't like mixing you with my other friends. I love my best mate and always make time for him. But my other friends have different interests that we enjoy discussing, socializing, and cooking. It's hard to explain. Story 22. Sometimes you come across as if you think you are better than everyone else. I actually feel sorry for you in those moments because it is clear you do not truly know who you are. Story 23. I was on weight loss injections because she will definitely tell her husband, and then he will use it against me every opportunity he gets, thinking he is just being funny. Story 24. I know we are both adults and busy, but we have been friends for 12 years. I should not have to reach out every time to hang out. Story 25. Her boyfriend sent me some disturbing messages. I never replied to him. She knows what her boyfriend is like yet still loves him. So I'm not going to tell her because I know she will be upset with me. Even though I'm not interested in him, I just don't want her to cry, and I don't want to be involved in this drama. But I want her to realize that her boyfriend is not treating her well. Why ignore the warning signs? By the way, we are not friends anymore because she has children now and told me I'm not a good friend. Story 26. I love them, probably more than platonically. One night, when I was really drunk and they were not, they asked me a question that I can only describe as a watershed moment in my life. I panicked and didn't answer, and that's about it. I kept replaying that night in my head for many months, even when they entered a relationship. I felt like a bad friend too, for secretly hoping their relationship remains casual and doesn't progress to serious. We are still best friends, and my feelings have ebbed, but if I could go back to that night, I know exactly what I would reply. Story 27. It hurts me that after I supported them during a difficult time, they seem not to care about our friendship now that they have a new partner and their life has changed. Story 28. Honestly, they know more than I ever cared to share. Nothing is really left other than embarrassing teen stories. Story 29. She creates all of her problems. She lived across the country, which is the only reason I can tolerate these issues. Story 30. I love them like a brother, but if he makes a mistake, I will support his wife's side and, if necessary, will take action that could significantly impact his life. To be honest, if the situation arises, I will tell him that I love him and appreciate our amazing relationship. However, I believe his wife deserves better, and I would choose her and their children if he were to mess things up. Story 31. I miss her. However, after the drug and alcohol-fueled threesome with her and her fiancé, which led to me getting pregnant and having an abortion, I just didn't feel right being around you all anymore. You weren't there for me during the depression of having to go through with the abortion when I had always sworn that it was something I'd never do. But in that situation, I had to make that choice. You made jokes about it as if it wasn't a life-changing experience. And that hurt. I needed someone to support me. I also realized that I didn't want to be a person who dabbled in drugs and partying, while you all were focused on that. I have goals you all didn't. Story 32. When he was at his lowest and I barely knew him, I was there for him. I defended him and helped guide him toward the right decisions. I did this twice in his life. I don't take credit for the decisions, but I was there for him. When I was at my lowest, he brought me down further. He bullied and harassed me psychologically. It was strange. I will never forget that. I forgive him, as that is what you should do, but I keep it to myself. Story 33. How much I miss him. He was the best man at my wedding and passed away 6 days later from a motorcycle accident on his way home from work. That was 5 years ago. Wear a helmet if you ride. You could save your parents, spouse, children, and friends from the heartbreak of lifelong grief. Story 34. Had more than friendly feelings for them for a few years. Not that she would end our friendship or that we would be awkward afterward, because we are both very accepting people who sincerely enjoy each other's company, and that was years ago. Most likely, very little would change. However, she would never let me live it down. My feelings developed roughly 7 or 8 years after we became friends. We have since been friends for a total of 12 years, I think. Story 35. I believe that he is actually a she who stole girls' clothing from her best friend in middle school to sneakily wear at home. This was not just a phase that she unlearned after her parents shamed her through obvious abusive methods. Story 36. I am still trying to get my friends to join Reddit, so just in case, I will refrain from answering this question. Story 37. His ex-girlfriend tried to connect with me multiple times over the years. They had 2 children together. Story 38. My best friend doesn't know that I am aware he lies constantly. I often go along with whatever he says because it is not worth the trouble. He is one of those people who likes to provoke reactions. I just don't understand it, but I've learned to accept it. Story 39. I was briefly very much in love with them, encouraging them during that period with their dating life and supporting them during breakups. It was one of the hardest things I've done, and it nearly killed me. But I'm past it. They are married and happy, and that's all that counts now. Story 40. Sadly, I find that the less I tell my wife, the happier she is. As a result, I'm less stressed out. At least I can pretend I'm not unhappy. Story 41. She was having a rough day, and I was unemployed. However, I decorated her Jeep with a cute little devil duck. She posted about it on social media, saying, "Oh my gosh, I was having such a rough day, but I got to my car to find this adorable duck. A little bright spot today." Story 42. Right now, she is behaving like an idiot. She is treating everyone terribly. Her husband doesn't deserve this, and she is acting like a terrible mother. I think she needs to get a grip. Story 43. My best friend is changing for the better. I see him and talk to him less often, but he is much happier, and I am so proud of him. He is finally losing weight, dating, and feeling mentally much better. I am sad that I don't get to see him as much, but I am also very happy that he is doing so well for himself. Story 44. I secretly disliked the guy she was upset about for months. I mean, he wasn't even attractive. It's your turn, share your thoughts. Story 45. Your girlfriend is taking advantage of you and negatively impacting your mental and financial health regularly. Story 46. I am struggling mentally with suicidal thoughts and can barely afford therapy, even after securing a corporate finance job. Story 47. I understand that I was a bad friend by not giving him enough time. I should have been more organized and not made him wait for me when he arrived. I may have put too much pressure on him when we lived together during college. I realize I should have been less lazy with planning and less vengeful when he wronged me with someone we considered a friend. However, I would also tell him that he lacks self-confidence for being easily influenced by the 2 people we knew. His attitude toward women and clumsiness often made me feel like he was interested in men. If he thinks that 2 people who turned us against each other would care about him as much as I do, then he is mistaken. I don't like how he changed in his 20s, and even though I am in no position to judge, I will speak up. He put too much pressure on me to make his college years enjoyable, and the blame he places on me for gaming a lot and not going out much is misplaced. His disrespect toward me and siding with that one friend was cruel, and part of me feels resentment for it. His move to the United States won't change the fact that he has a fixed mindset. He needs to start therapy, or he may end up single in his 30s as well. I regret oversharing, and I wish I had worked on my challenges more quickly. If I had known how things would turn out, I would have been more organized, less open, and stricter with him. I wish him well and hope he finds a good partner who won't cheat or leave him. I hope he has a healthy child, perhaps a boy who shares his childhood interest in cars. Story 48. I shared the abuse I experienced with my boyfriend when we broke up. After we got back together, she believes he has changed. To be fair, he has made a lot of improvements, but occasionally I still see that old side of him. However, I can't tell her this now because we're all friends. Story 49. I no longer want to be friends with you. You are a strange and envious person, and I recognized this from the very beginning. I was too shy to distance myself, so I played along for 2 years. However, I can't continue this friendship anymore. I'm sorry that you consider me your best friend, but I do not see you as mine. Story 50. I intentionally avoid sharing details about my relationship with my spouse because her partner ended things abruptly and without explanation. For some reason, discussing my relationship makes me feel guilty. As a result, we have become somewhat distant, which was never my intention. Story 51. I wouldn't say she's my best friend, but we do talk often. Her boyfriend has been stringing her along for about 7 years, claiming they will get married, but he has yet to propose. I think he keeps her around to assist him and watch his kids. Story 52. One of my close friends is dating another girl. My friend complains frequently about her girlfriend not managing her emotions properly and being overly reactive. I believe my friend is often quite insensitive towards her girlfriend, but that could lead to many problems. Story 53. I believe he is going to die of a heart attack within the next 5 years. His blood pressure is so high, even with medication, that every time he visits a doctor they try to admit him to the hospital. He dismisses it every time and does not pay attention to his diet. At this point, it is clear to me that he cares more about hamburgers than his health. He is also diabetic and does not exercise or make any effort to eat healthily. It makes me sad, but I feel that insisting on it when everyone else already is would only drive him away. I want to enjoy every moment we have together. Story 54. There was significant drama in our friend group that was entirely her fault. Others told her directly that they no longer considered her a friend and did not want to see her again, which was justified. Much of what she says must be taken with skepticism, as it is often a lie, exaggerated for drama, or slightly distorted. She has no problem perpetuating those lies when confronted, attempting to shift the blame to someone else. Additionally, she appears oblivious to the fact that I have been distancing myself from her because I do not want to associate with her. Story 55. I am going through a difficult time with my best friend of 14 years. He has become a very toxic person who does not respect most of my opinions because I am not successful in his eyes, although he is not willing to admit it. He has become overly confrontational and generally unpleasant to talk to. I am 34 years old and no longer feel the need to share my thoughts with him because he will most likely deflect and confront my flaws instead of recognizing my concerns. Therefore, I will not share any of this with him and will gradually talk to him less until we either cease to be friends or he calms down. Story 56. She embarrasses me sometimes. Her family members are all unkind, and despite criticizing them, she behaves similarly. Story 57. I really resent how insensitive and self-centered she was. I had a miscarriage the month prior, and she asked me to accompany her for an abortion. We're in a close circle of friends. She could have asked either of the other 2 friends in our group, but she asked me specifically. I didn't go with her, and I have distanced myself from the group since then. Story 58. I wouldn't go out to eat with her. I have a friend like this who is constantly eating out. She sends food back, asks for another napkin, then requests a to-go container, a lid, extra straws, and ketchup packets. She sees no problem doing this. I have held the server and asked her multiple times, "What else do you want so that this person doesn't have to go back and forth?" I finally decided that I am not going to eat out with her because she is embarrassing and ruins the experience. If she invites me to eat, I will decline and suggest another activity that doesn't involve table service. I will not grab a bite to eat with her at a place that offers table service. It's a waste of my time. Story 59. She is still grieving over her ex, who has a new partner and will never get back together with her. Story 60. I understand why people may struggle to get along with you, as I almost became one of them. I know you were unkind to someone I cared about, and I would have ended the friendship if they hadn't insisted I remain, because they believe you truly need support and companionship. Story 61. She is not like other girls for choosing men aged 27 to 30 when she just turned 18 a month ago. It is not acceptable for a 17-year-old guy to say, "I will wait for your 18th," when she was only 11 at the time. Story 62. I have autism and post-traumatic stress disorder. I was formally diagnosed with both. My best friend doesn't know because my past experiences and my relationship with my ex turned my two diagnoses against me. I can't risk that happening again. Story 63. I am afraid of thunder and being alone. She would make fun of that, so I keep her unaware of those two fears. Story 64. I feel like our friendship is often one-sided. I frequently check in on her and let her vent about work and her boyfriend, but I don't feel the same kindness in return. She has been my friend on and off for the past 20 years, but I believe we have become different people. I care about her, but her jokes and lack of consideration are draining me. Story 65. You mean the world to me, and you really do, but the path you're going down is hurting me. I see you like this because I love you and just want the best for you. Story 66. I think he's a failure sometimes. For context, his family lives below the poverty line. This is not the failure in itself, but his reaction is what frustrates me, no matter how much I've tried to help over the years. His mom is on disability, can't work, and constantly needs to be taken to the hospital for treatment. His dad is in and out of jail for various issues, including putting my friend into thousands of dollars of debt by having his name on car registrations that his dad then gets totaled or towed to the impound, which is his mom's only transport to the hospital. His little sister barely went to high school even though they lived across the street from the school. What is his reaction? Complaining about it. I understand. I probably would too. But then he does very little to improve his situation. He often mentions not having money for food, yet he manages to scrape together enough to buy a new video game. When I suggest getting some volunteer experience for his resume, since he has no work experience in our early 20s, he never takes me up on it, even when I recommend taking the bus to the local food bank, which is always in need of help. Now he's asking me about things related to buying a house, like property taxes. I provide him with figures, saying, "Here's how much it cost my family to buy a house valued under $90,000. I can't even contribute to a mortgage while working 2 part-time jobs." I'm basically telling him that if he wants to change his life, he must really work on it. Yet, he doesn't take meaningful steps to help himself. He managed to deal with the debt his dad put him in, which is good. But aside from that, he's not looking for a job, not volunteering, and I find myself pushing him out the door to submit resumes. I even offered to help write one because he has strengths he's not using. I care for him like a little brother, but it can be very frustrating at times. Story 67. I hate her boyfriend. I've met him twice. The first time I was at work, and he flirted with me in front of her. The second time we were at a market, and they planned it so I'd only have about 15 minutes to hang out. They ignored me for almost the entire time. He prioritizes his band over meeting her best friend, and he and his band have unplanned practices most of the time. He puts his barely known band above getting a job, which might require him to move to a different continent. I also want to know his basic political beliefs, but apparently their relationship isn't like that. If you have been dating your partner for 6 months, you need to know things like that. He also looks very unkempt. Story 68. I don't care about seeing, hearing about, or holding your baby. I'm sorry, but I just do not care about kids, even if it's yours. Story 69. The fact that she cheated on her boyfriend while pregnant is surprising. She should consider herself fortunate that he has remained supportive and loved her throughout this ordeal. She needs to get it together before she loses the best partner she has had since she started dating. If I told her that, chaos would likely ensue, and it is not my place to intervene in her relationship since it does not involve me. Story 70. I will never forgive her for breaking my heart and destroying our 15-year friendship due to her unnecessary jealousy. Story 71. One of the largest reasons I spiraled so hard over the last 7 months is their sudden disappearance. I would have had an outlet, even if a minor one. Instead, everything has been piling up inside me, and I am so close to bursting at the seams that it is not even remotely funny. Maybe the number of things that have gone wrong in my life is funny, to be honest. It's hilarious how everything that could have gone wrong has ended up going wrong. Story 72. You need to stop drinking flavored liquor. It's not appropriate. You should graduate to beer and proper drinking. Drinking like you're 16 during a game of flip cup, pairing that flavored vodka with steak is unrefined. Story 73. I once had a moment where I found myself attracted to a picture of her while lying in bed next to my ex. I didn't repeat the experience. It was just an idea I wanted to explore. Story 74. Anything anymore. He passed away last month. I was so upset that I vowed never to speak to him again. Story 75. To be honest, if I could attend class without worrying about being alone in partner activities, I would. Story 76. Sometimes I keep things to myself just to avoid breaking her heart, even though I know she deserves to know. Story 77. My significant other says some negative things about her when we are alone and generally gets tired of her quickly when they are together. I don't think she can tell, but I can definitely see it. Story 78. I would let her eat me if the circumstances arose. I would not tell her this because she would say she is hungry and bite me so hard in the most convenient place that onlookers would be concerned. Story 79. His spray tan looked ridiculous. His son may very well have committed the acts he has been charged with. I haven't seen proof as the prosecution is slow in rolling out discovery, but at this point it's either a serious miscarriage of justice, which I hope is the case, or there's a good reason why the state offered a decades-long plea deal. Story 80. Buddy, you aren't real. I imagined you as an alter ego to cope with my loneliness, even though I have a good group of friends, and it really helped. I have since integrated us into one person, but sometimes I still acknowledge you are there. Maybe we should go to therapy. Story 81. She is too much of a people pleaser. She is in a difficult marriage with a challenging partner and continues to endure it after 25 years. This has strained her relationship with her grown child. I have spoken about this as gently as possible over the last few decades, but I no longer do so because it is clear that she will not make a change. Therefore, I just listen and avoid giving advice. Story 82. He failed his eldest son by spoiling him and being overly permissive while he and his wife lived a lavish lifestyle, which they could afford. They traveled extensively and spent time out, ignoring their son's obvious need for attention. As a result, the boy surrounded himself with negative influences and substance abuse. Now, as a young adult, he struggles to function. Story 83. A lot of people looked down on her and tried too often to devalue her behind her back. I felt it was nonsense, so I didn't bother telling her about the mean jokes they would try to pull. I would just casually mention to steer clear of certain individuals because they were trying to bring her down behind her back. I didn't share the hurtful things they said because those people can go away anyway. It was simply degrading and not the true version of who she was deep down. I considered her my sister, so people knew not to talk about her in front of me. If they did, I'd give a disapproving look and add a few sharp comments that would sting just enough for them to realize I'd never join in on the gossip. I'd insult their families, their siblings, their homes, their clothes. Anything that would hurt if they came for her. I thought the world of her, and people who didn't understand just weren't on our level. I never allowed anyone to disrespect her or create a narrative that diminished her in front of me. She betrayed my trust after 25 years of sisterhood, and even though she had an affair with my ex-boyfriend, I had forgiven her. Story 84. May body count na ako. Nagjoke ako sa kanya, pero para sa kanya, joke lang ito. Pero to ito. Nagsasabi siya na mabibigla siya kung totoo yun. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa rin niya alam. Story 85. She is a strict Christian. I am an eclectic pagan. I have no intention of telling her because I know she would be very upset. I understand how much she values honesty, but the truth would greatly affect her. She is already convinced that the fate of everyone's souls is her own responsibility and remains depressed because of it. She would be devastated if she thought she couldn't save me. Story 86. Everything. I am a man. If it does not benefit our relationship, he does not need to know. As far as he knows, I am a cool guy who has lived a pretty standard, lovely life. Story 87. I believe that getting back together with the child of a girlfriend he previously described as manipulative and uncaring in their relationship is a poor decision that I cannot support. Story 88. The first time my husband's mother met me, she told me how he likes to watch adult films and how she caught him when he was younger, asking me not to tell his wife, who is my best friend. Story 89. I'm glad that she's happy now, but her family's disappointment in her recent choices is understandable. She has distanced herself from every single family member and most of her friends because they hesitated to accept her decisions or outright disagreed with her immediate choices surrounding her partners and getting married in less than 6 months. I tell her I'm proud that she's not being controlled by others' wishes for her life anymore, and it means everything to her that I'm not critical. However, I completely understand why her family feels the way they do. Story 90. That I love her. We've been friends for almost 10 years. And our relationship was always platonic until 2 years ago. We were both single, got drunk, and ended up having sex on 2 separate occasions that month. It was funny because we acted like nothing happened for about 2 to 3 months until she brought it up. We both agreed that we were good as friends, and that's it. It's true. But deep down, I realized I do love her. She's cool, funny, and always a good time to be around. I would drop whatever I was doing just to help her with anything she needs. If she were to ask me if something could happen between us, I would want to say yes, but I know we will never work out. I just know, so I suck it up. We still hang out now and then and catch up, but we never bring it up. Story 91. One night, I took his phone to see photos of him interacting with others without him knowing because I cared for him as a friend. Story 92. I had a crush on him back in high school. He's gay, and we're still best friends today. I don't like the thought that will be awkward if I tell him. I think it's important for him to know that I'm a girl. Story 93. I have fancied their cousin from the moment I saw them 25 years ago. I believe they feel the same way about me, but it's all too complicated, so I sit in silent adoration every day. Story 94. Are there any other guys here who never have to tell their friends certain things because their friends are men and never ask? No dad, no stepdad in prison, and suddenly gaining 2 new 35-year-old brothers, with no questions ever asked. Story 95. I dislike your voice messages. They are too long, with 3 noisy children in the background and the mixer running, and I generally do not care about the uninteresting content. Story 96. I did not enjoy the bachelorette party that she organized for me. Felt like she planned it for her own ideal celebration. For example, I do not drink alcohol, and there were many bar stops during the weekend. I was tired after visiting the second one. Story 97. You see, that's the interesting part, you're days late to that. Basically, my only friend is an online friend, and he likes Mioscarada. Not in a weird way, just likes Mioscarada in a normal way. About a week ago, I told him about the shenanigans I would do to Mioscarada, and surprisingly, he just accepted it and said, "You're down bad on a new level." Normally, he gets offended when people make inappropriate jokes, so I asked him if he was okay with it. He then said, "Yeah, because it wasn't directed at me. I was thinking about not posting about that, but then that happened." Story 98. I was molested as a child. I do not want pity or comments about my situation. I do not want my circle to know about it. Story 99. I still see her ex-husband's posts on social media, and I get so angry that he didn't realize what he had. She wouldn't want me to harbor this anger because she's moved on and forgiven him, but I still feel intense anger for what he put her through. Story 100. I am now connecting with another friend in my college program, and I am slowly falling in love with her. My best friend can never know because the constant, "I was right," would be soul-crushing. Story 101. I told our mutual friend that my best friend would be really sad if her baby shower invitation had her old last name instead of her new married name. Our mutual friend was able to change it before giving her the invitation. An uncomfortable situation was averted. Story 102. I dislike my best friend's boyfriend. She is dating a terrible guy. I rarely post online, but I need to express this. He pressured her into an intimate relationship even though she wanted to wait. She is so in love with him that she fails to see it. He also flirted with me, asked for my number, and said my friend didn't need to know about it. I obviously rejected him, but when I told my best friend, she didn't believe me. So frustrating. Story 103. I wish she had married me instead of her immature, ungrateful, petty, spiteful, and selfish husband. He isn't even nice to her. I have told her that I believe she should leave for her own sanity, which is true. However, she doesn't need to know that I have been in love with her since high school. Story 104. One of my best friends moved to Italy. I didn't see or speak to him for several months. When he returned for a visit, he was fit and toned. I was attracted to him and often thought about him. I have always been curious about guys, but never about any of my friends, except for this one. Story 105. I would not consider being unfaithful to my wife, as I am committed to being a good partner. However, if circumstances were different, I might entertain the idea. Story 106. Her boyfriend should have been mine. We met him on the same night. He told us he was leaving with one of our numbers, then said out loud that he thought I was beautiful. I turned away his and his friends' advances, hoping to just have a fun girls' night, just us two, without needing to compete with my friend. I came back from the bathroom and they were making out. She later said that she swore he liked me most, but he didn't pull away when she went to kiss him. Now they are together and he and I had to have a brief chat about it a few weeks after meeting to clear the air and close that case forever. Nothing has happened and nothing ever will, but I feel the way we have to pull back when we start laughing or joking or if I catch him looking at me warmly. Our vibe is palpable and it makes me somewhat sad, but not as sad as the prospect of losing my best friend, so I will never act on it. And I know for a fact he loves her. It is just one of those in another life situations. Silly me for thinking it would be just a girls' night. Story 107. I don't have a best friend anymore because I'm too transparent and I overshare. The last time I did, I told her she wasn't a good friend and that every conversation was about how much she disliked her children. I couldn't be friends with someone like that. She claimed her husband was abusive, but he was simply setting boundaries she didn't appreciate. Story 108. His wife is only attractive from a specific angle that she uses for every single photo. I wasn't sure if it was her when we met in real life until I saw that angle. Otherwise, she does not look very appealing. They seem happy though and they are doing well. Story 109. I pressed the remote button, and something in the television burned out with smoke. When the television was not working, I said I didn't do anything. This happened twice, also at another friend's house. Since then, I have never touched remotes in someone else's house. Story 110. I think they are a bad person in a modern and harsh way, but being lonely and desperate has driven everyone else away, so you are all I have. Story 111. I am glad he had a falling out with his crush on the last day of university because, throughout the last semester, he had a habit of leaving me to join her and her friends. It turns out she found his behavior creepy and did not want to talk to him again. Story 112. I slept with his older sister. Just kidding, he found out years ago. He didn't care. We are still best friends. We never openly bring it up, though. Story 113. I already told my big secret to her, but she cut me off about 40 years ago, so I think I'm good. Plus, I have some information on her as well. Story 114. I don't like it when my best friends hang out and I'm not there. Even though I have no reason to feel this way, I think it's just fear of missing out. No one shall ever know of my jealousy. Story 115. The person I love or have a crush on is the one who taunts the most if something bad happens. Story 116. I accidentally saw his adult content collection on his laptop when we were teenagers. He asked me to fix a problem on the laptop, and I opened a folder, not knowing what it contained, only to be confronted with several gigabytes of explicit material. I'll never tell him because that seems like too much of an awkward conversation, and it requires effort. Story 117. My partner and I had an experience with a girl he had just broken up with. We are all non-monogamous. He had just ended things with a girl that my partner and I were beginning to befriend. My partner identifies as pansexual. This girl is incredibly beautiful, like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of person. We both developed feelings for her. She took a liking to us, so we had a threesome shortly after their breakup. We felt we had to. I left town for a while, so the threesomes diminished, but we still see each other whenever we can, which isn't more than once or twice a year nowadays. It's been 3 to 4 years now, and I'm almost certain he wouldn't care too much about the situation, as we both embrace our wild sides. However, there's really no reason to disturb the status quo. I would be heartbroken if anything complicated our relationship with her, and my partner would be heartbroken for me as well. Story 118. Her cynicism is exhausting to deal with. There is no such thing as hope. She is invested in pessimism, and it is just tiring to engage with that type of energy. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.